Spencer here with 4 Teach Recruiting, and in this video I'm going to go over 10 apps that are going to help you survive in China. Now these apps are not in any particular order, but I think that they're very good apps. I think that they're must-haves if you're coming to China and you want to live here and you want to get off to a very good start. So app number 1 is called WeChat. Now, WeChat is a lot like WhatsApp in the US or KakaoTalk in Korea, but it's kind of on a whole nother level. I like to think of it as kind of like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram all combined into one. And what's really cool about WeChat is that you can actually, if you're messaging a new friend that you met in China and they're typing in Chinese and you are typing in English, there's actually a function where you can auto-translate what they're saying, so you can still talk to each other if your Chinese is not as good and their English is not as good. So it's a really good app to have, and that's the #1 app that you should get before you come to China, just to get a feel for how it all works and everything like that. App number 2, especially if you're living in a big city, is called Metro Man. And this essentially is a subway or metro map app. And this way you can see how long it will take you to get from one station to another station. It actually tells you where you need to transfer at, and it has almost all of the major cities in China listed on it, from Shenzhen to Beijing to even Hong Kong and Macau. So you're gonna know exactly how to get around on the metro, on the subway, and how long it's gonna take you to go from one station to the next. So it's a very good app to have, and it's all in English. The third app that I recommend is called DiDi. Now, DiDi is essentially the Chinese version of Uber. And obviously I think everyone knows how to use Uber. It's really handy. You just kind of type on your phone where you want to go and you call for a car. DiDi is almost the exact same thing. Obviously the look of it is a little bit different than Uber, but they have an English version of the app. Yes, most of the drivers, their English is maybe not that good, but built into the app itself is a texting option. It's where you can send messages to the driver, and just like on WeChat, it will translate them into Chinese for the driver and translate the driver's messages into English for you. So it's a really handy app, and when you're searching where you want to go, you can actually type in English because DiDi wanted and asked lots of businesses to input their business names in English for you. So it's going to be a really handy app for you to use to get around China. And the fourth app that I think is a must-have, it's actually depends on what neighborhood or what city you live in, but it is a bike rental app. Now the #1 bike renting company in China right now is called Mobike. And what's really cool about Mobike is you put a down payment and you scan a barcode on the bike itself, and this is going to allow you to rent a bike by the hour, by the minute, and it's really, really low cost. Once you come to China, you'll probably see these bikes almost on every street, every corner, and this app's gonna allow you to rent them. The second bike rental company, it just depends on what neighborhood you live in, is called OFO. That's another good one, and it's essentially the same thing as Mobike. And it just depends on what city or what neighborhood you live in on which one has the most bikes in that location. Now, the fifth app that I recommend, and this is kind of just a general traveling app, and it's called XE Currency. And this is really good, especially when you're traveling, not just for China, but it's going to help you know exactly how much something costs, and it's going to give you real-time updates on what the currency exchange rate is where you're at. So when you first come to China, obviously you're not going to know how much the Chinese RMB act to US dollars or to Canadian dollars or to the British pound, what it is at that moment, and it's going to let you know what it is right then, so you know exactly how much you're actually spending on whatever you're paying. And then, just like always, whenever you make those weekend getaways to Hong Kong or to the Philippines, you'll be able to know exactly what the currency exchange rate should be when you're going to get that country's currency. It's gonna be really good for you and just help you get a better feel on how much everything costs. Now, the next app that I recommend is, you could get one of two, is Google Translate. There's also Bing, or Microsoft offers their own translation app as well. And this is definitely going to be really handy when you first get here, because I'm gonna assume that you don't maybe necessarily know a lot of Chinese. And with Google Translate, you can actually download the language that you want to translate it into so that it's on your phone. So you could download English and you could download Chinese, and it's going to be on your phone. So even if you don't have cell phone service or you don't have Wi-Fi, you can still type in a word and it will be able to translate this for you into the language that you want to use. So it's going to be really handy for that type of situation. Now, the next app that I'm going to recommend is a VPN. The reason I recommend VPN, and the one particular that I want to say, is called ExpressVPN, but there's several VPNs out there that you could use, that you could get, but a VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. And the reason I recommend you wanting to get a VPN is because in China, a lot of the social networking sites or websites that you're probably used to using, they might not necessarily be available here, like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Those aren't actually allowed for you to have access to them when you're in mainland China. And if you have a VPN, it's pretty easy. You just kind of hit a button on your phone, you turn it on, and it basically tricks the internet into thinking that you're somewhere else besides in mainland China, and you'll be able to have full access to these websites. So it's going to be really good for you if you want to try to get updated on Instagram and Facebook and stay in touch with all your friends back home. So that's going to be really good for you. And the next app is called Ctrip. This is a lot like maybe booking.com or hotels.com, but it's basically mostly for China. Yes, they do have stuff for all over the world, but what's really cool is you can book your flight tickets within China, you can book your train tickets within China, and you can book hotels within China. And the extensiveness of Ctrip is a lot bigger within China than, say, these other apps. And you can actually pay for them within the app itself. You can use Alipay or you can use WeChat wallet, and it's going to be making booking those hotels, especially booking the different train rides around China, a lot easier for you using this app, because when you go to the train station, a lot of the people aren't going to speak English. So it's going to allow you to be able to make those bookings and know what time your train leaves and everything, all in English, and a lot easier to do. The next one I recommend, and the reason I recommend this goes back to why I recommend a VPN, and that's to use a different email provider than Gmail. So if you're currently using Gmail, I recommend maybe Outlook as your email provider now. It's a free email provider, and have that on your phone. And if you still want to stick with Gmail, you can actually set it up in Outlook to where it forwards your Gmail emails to your Outlook email account. So you're never going to miss your emails again. So if someone's sending it to your @Gmail account, it'll automatically forward to your @Outlook email account, and you don't have to have the VPN turned on. So you can always have access to these emails and you're not going to miss anything. Alright guys, and the final app that I recommend is called WaiMai. And this essentially is a food delivery app. Now, what it is a third-party company that is putting in restaurants and the restaurants' menus, and they have drivers that go around and they pick up whatever food you want for a small fee. Now, with this app, I will warn you that this is the final app that I'm recommending, but with this app, it actually is all in Chinese. But luckily, if you get a coworker or a friend to help you out and they put in your home address, you never have to put in your home address again. And all of the food menus, they all come with pictures and images, so you're still gonna know what you're ordering, and you just have to hit pay and they'll come straight to your door, straight to your home once you get your address put in, because you don't have to put it in again, and you don't have to keep bothering people on what food you want to order if you didn't want to go out for that night. And that's the final app that I recommend. Once again, my name is Spencer with 4Teach Recruiting, and those are the 10 apps that I highly recommend for you to have to get started on the right foot when you come to China. Have a good day, and all of the links for these apps are going to be in the description down below. Same with our job board and links to any other blog posts that I think are going to help you out on this teaching journey. Bye.